let's say the sexes were reversed and it was a woman being fully isolated like that, we would call it abuse. And I consider their dynamic to be somewhat abusive. And their Montecito house is sort of a gilded cage for him. He went from one gilded cage that was massive in Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle to an even smaller one there in Montecito, where life is going considerably badly for the two of them. And Harry will want to break free and, maybe regain some aspects of his former life.
The real Meghan Markle has been revealed, and this time by her own perfect calligraphy, which has been analysed by experts to show that this is a woman who not only treats her husband like crap, but doesn't reveal what she is thinking, not just to the outside world, but also to herself. Now, I find this really fascinating stuff, and I want to go into it in a little bit of detail, actually, because you remember that Meghan Markle on that disastrous Middle Eastern tour left 2 notes on the wall of this community centre that had links to international terrorist organisation Hamas. And the Daily Telegraph have actually closely analysed it by one of the world's top graphologists. This is Emma Bark. And they headline this piece, "In Meghan's world, everything must look good." And they say that this is a woman hyper-focused on image. Now, there's quite a lot of interesting stuff going around about this visit, of course, and what it all means. We'll get into it with Brittany, editor of the Royal News Network, imminently. But it is just worth pointing out this from Niall Gardner, who is one of the bosses of the Heritage Foundation in the US, which is campaigning for Prince Harry to have his citizenship potentially revoked if it turns out that he did lie about his illegal drug use upon entry into the US. And he says about the note, Prince Harry knows a great deal about illegal drugs. The key question is whether he lied about his drug use on his US immigration application. If he did lie on his application, a federal offense, it would result in his deportation and or several years in an American prison. So the point that he's making is there's a lot at stake when it comes to this visit, and the fact that Harry, and this was something that was overlooked, I guess, is definitely leaning in to the whole addict approach. But okay, we'll come to that shortly. First, let's look at what Emma Buck, this graphologist, has worked out. And it is really fascinating based on these 2 notes that were written by Meghan and Harry in their very different styles and then posted on the wall in Jordan. Now, we'll start with Meghan, who the graphologist says superficially Meghan's note radiates confidence far more than Prince Harry's. But her writing is so stylized that anyone can see her number one focus is her image. The sticky note shows up close what we previously only glimpsed at from a distance in a picture she posted on Instagram of her mood board, which was also clearly constructed for public consumption. It makes me yearn to get hold of one of her shopping lists or anything that would allow me to see how Meghan writes when she isn't so preoccupied by appearance. The first thing you see is that each one of her letters is embellished with curlicues and decorative strokes that don't serve a functional purpose, but also aren't unconscious flourishes. I suspect they are deliberate additions to give her handwriting individual flair. There are also a great many self-protective strokes. Look at the way certain letters, particularly in words like happiness, wishing, and dedication, are formed, so the middle zone of the word is shielded. Graphologically, that is a classic sign of someone who protects their inner self at all costs. At all costs. Her pen pressure is strong and consistent, which points to high energy levels, passion, and commitment. This is a woman who can throw herself fully into whatever she is doing at the time, but very strong pressure can also tip into obsession. And there are indications here of a perfectionist streak. In Meghan's world, everything must look good. Her baseline, now that's the often invisible line upon which the base of letters rests, is exceptionally straight. almost as though she's writing on lined paper, even when she isn't, which suggests an obsession, there's that word again, with planning, and shows how important structure and order are to her. The way she crosses her T in words like congratulations points to her ambition. Meghan knows what she wants, and she is not someone who likes being told what to do. Her long Y strokes are carefully separated from surrounding letters, showing exceptional organization skills and a desire not to get emotionally entangled. Even her ovals, the O shapes in words like you and yours, are tightly crossed and almost knotted. That indicates that she is a woman who finds it very difficult to reveal what she is really thinking, not just to the outside world, but sometimes even to herself. Brittany, look, this is really interesting, I think, because does someone's handwriting reveal a lot about themselves? Well, certainly. That is this woman's profession. And it's interesting to me, isn't it? It's all about control with her, but it's also all about denial, Brittany, because I think it's totally clear that Meghan Markle is in denial about who she really is. And I do believe that very often she is in denial to herself. What did you make of this analysis?
Tonight we're taking a closer look at the latest rumours surrounding Prince Harry and Meghan Markle. Reports and speculation continue to swirl about what may really be happening behind the scenes in the Duke and Duchess of Sussex's marriage. With growing pressure from their business ventures, public appearances and constant media attention, many royal watchers are asking whether the couple is facing new challenges in their relationship. In today's episode, Dan teams up with the Royal News Network to break down the latest headlines, the speculation coming from royal insiders, and what it could mean for Harry and Meghan moving forward. Are these just rumours fueled by the media, or is there more going on behind the scenes than we realise? Stay with us as we unpack the latest royal developments and what they might mean for the future of the Sussexes. And if you enjoy royal news, commentary, and the latest updates from the world of the monarchy, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you never miss our next update.
I mean, it's very fascinating, Dan. We know that Meghan is probably a somewhat obsessive person because we know she has this real obsession with things looking a particular way. But it's also funny, too, because she would, I think, claim in some ways not to be a perfectionist or to be a perfectionist. But we see her brand results and these sorts of things. So we know she's not really a perfectionist at the same time, or she has some sort of weird manifestation of what looks perfect to her. But we know when it comes to her life in general, I think she very much likes things done a particular way, in her own way, as she directs. We know because of how she's treated her staff members, she's probably very obsessive and aggressive with what she wants. If they do anything that deviates a little bit, they get clap back from her. Or if things don't go her way, they get clap back, these sorts of things. But it's a really fascinating analysis. But Meghan, yes, she never reveals what she's really thinking. I'm not even sure we've ever really seen the real Meghan, to be honest. I think that's something that carefully guarded because while she is a narcissist, she's also wildly, wildly insecure about herself, which is why it always feels like she's wearing a mask. She's never her real self. She doesn't really like her real self. And that's sort of the irony of her whole post-royal existence, is that if she could be the real Meghan, even if it's probably not a likable character, I think she'd actually be much more successful than being this faux humanitarian entrepreneur when she obviously clearly does not have the skills or the intelligence to do so. She's a Kardashian level. Well, maybe that's even offensive to them, but she is just a bare bones basic influencer who likes things to have a particular flourish. But yeah, her fancy cursive is just ridiculous. I don't understand why she does it like all the time. Just write normal, Meghan. Like, that's fine. Nobody really cares that much. But having flourish in everything, can you imagine somebody who has to have a flourish every time they write a note? It would just drive you bonkers.
I find it exhausting. I've always hated the calligraphy. Actually, I've always hated it. I don't like it. Don't like it. Don't think it's cool. I really don't.
I mean, just write normally.
Yeah,
that's what
totally.
we all do.
And I've got very messy handwriting. So actually, I'm not going to criticize Harry for his, which is pretty normal. I quite like people with messy handwriting, if I'm totally honest. But the graphologist then looked into what Harry's said about him. And she said, by contrast, it's far less managed The first thing you notice is the spacing. He leaves wide gaps between words, which is a strong indicator of someone who occasionally needs some space from other people. Meghan might claim she loves spending time alone, but the truth is that she thrives on attention. Whereas for Harry, moments of solitude are essential to his emotional well-being. Interestingly, although his words are widely spaced, the letters within them are quite tightly packed. That suggests a man who struggles to articulate how he feels, even if he experiences those feelings deeply. His baseline is uneven and undulating, which makes me think he is adaptable, emotionally responsive, and can go with the flow. A useful trait when you have a married woman, when you have married a woman who, according to her handwriting, needs to order the world exactly to her liking. The downside of this is that he can waver when under pressure. Harry's pen pressure has increased compared with earlier samples, suggesting he has become more emotional since becoming a father, but there's also a downward tilt in parts of the writing. When he writes words like courage, they appear to almost be sinking in on themselves, which tells me he was tired on the day in question. And I mean, he clearly was. I mean, he looked out of sorts, Brittany, through that whole tour, as if something wasn't correct with him at all. And it's interesting to me when she suggests that he needs time on his own. And I do feel that. I think he's struggling at the moment big time. So it was quite interesting analysis of Harry, I thought, too.
Mm-hmm. I think that's really interesting, especially the dynamic of having Meghan, who constantly needs attention. I mean, we see her constantly clinging to him. And if you're someone who is an introvert and you need to recharge your social battery and these sorts of things by being alone, and you have this woman who's constantly trying to get attention from you, trying to get her self-validation from you, that can be, I would argue, a very toxic dynamic, because sometimes it's like, you just need to be alone. You just need to be away. And she just can't seem to do that. She needs to desperately cling. And we saw a guy during this tour who was, like you said, very out of sorts. In that Channel 4 interview, he looks tense. His shoulders are up really high. His eyes are shifting towards the doctor as if I don't know what to say, and I'm confused. And I think he maybe knew kind of when they got there, or at some point, oh, this is not what I thought this was. I'm being pulled in here to do something. Maybe he was sharp enough to pick up on that. I'm not sure. But I don't think life is going well for him. I don't think things are going well in his relationship and these sorts of things. Meghan's constant need for control and for things to be a particular way, I'm sure, are grating. Like, you can adapt to a certain extent, but at some point you're just going to be, I just want to do things my way, not the Meghan Markle way. And I'm sure that's causing a lot of tension at home.
And what was interesting is when the graphologist put their handwriting side by side, she said the relationship dynamic became very clear. Meghan plans while Harry adapts. She controls the image while he goes along with the narrative she is creating for their family. She needs to be center stage while he would often prefer to be left alone. In terms of parenting styles, I would imagine Harry is relaxed about the chaos that is often inevitable when you live with small children, while Meghan, who is the ultimate perfectionist, perhaps struggles with aspects of it. Well, she does. She absolutely does. And most of it is passed on, of course, to the team of nannies. Ultimately, she says this is a well-established partnership, but their writing samples make me question whether it is necessarily an equal one. And of course, Brittany, there's nothing equal about